would do it first just to show you what are we trying to do. And then from there, I will let you do it so you can get an idea of what it is. Let me tell you this. Right now, there is a radiologist. He's not a programmer. He's a radiologist that I showed him Git, and he picked it up in less than a week. All right.
Yep.
Because, and this is the point, he's paranoid about losing information. And once he understood how Git works for that, then he kind of like rest assured. And that's when he started like doing it, which is basically the point that you have. Like the reason why you make copies all the time is because you don't want to lose all the information data, right?
Right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the first version and move along the different versions as you go so that we can keep history of them. You will see in a second what that means, right?
Okay, I'm going to try to move the Zoom window from one monitor to the other, and hopefully the video driver won't crash.
All right.
Ay. Okay.
Let's see which one we're going to pick out first. All right. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Give me just a minute here. All right. So you have been working with Live Auto Panel for a long time. We haven't done anything with that. All right. I already started with the tutorials on reactivity automation to have different versions. So I will show you what those look in VS Code. Now, VS Code has the cool thing that it has very good Git integration. So everything that you can do, or most of the things that you can do with Git, you can do them in this left side right here, right? So where it says source control, that's what's where we're going to be looking at the things. And think about the source control here on the left as a saving with extra steps. It's basically what you're doing. And every time you save your file, you're saving your file on your computer, and it is already saved, but we don't know how it was before. That's what happens in your computer. Whenever you save the file, you definitely lose the last one before, the previous version, right? That's why you make a different copy. What the source control does is that it keeps track of the changes individually. So right now, I deleted a 0 from there, and it right away told me, hey, you made a change. And it only happens when you save the file, all right? So when you save the file, you're going to lose the old version. The source control says, hey, you're about to lose data. You don't want that to happen, right? Tells you there are changes. When you click on a file, it tells you what the change is. And right now we're just looking at one little thing. So it was 100 at some point. It is red, means that we lost data. And in here, what we lost was a 0. You can see the little thing in there. It tells you, hey, there was a 0 there, it's gone, right? But I want to save that to not lose the older information. I don't want to lose the fact that I had a 100 in there. That's what this is all about. So this works in 2 steps. One of them is staging the changes like this. That makes what is called a stage. And then once you're ready, you can commit the changes by putting a message in there. You say what you changed. So this is a test or whatever. Or, well, made. So this is a fix, timer too fast, working inconsistently. I don't know. It doesn't matter. You just describe what you changed. And when you hit commit, what happens is that a new commit gets created. And now it goes into your history. And all of those commits, every single one of them, you can look at them at any point in your code. So when we have an extension called git graph that allows me to see that, and it looks a little bit messy at the moment, but the only thing that you have to take into consideration here is that I can go back until the first time I made any commits, and I can even look at the code at that time, and I will show you that at that time, this was the code that I had. See, the file was empty, and I saved that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it is saving with extra steps because you have to stage, and then you have to put a message and then commit. But it saves you a lot of things in the long run, because I can definitely say, you know what? There was a time that I didn't have a dialogue, and I don't know when it was. Well, fix, there was no dialogue error here. See that? Well, I can go to that point and see exactly what I changed, and I can revert it back to what it was at that time. Does that make sense? I can
Yes.
definitely confirm. Now, things are looking a little bit weird right now because my window is too big right now. But when you look at it, you can see the code. There was a try statement there that I was catching an error. When you see it red like that, it's just losing information. What did we do? Well, we removed the try statement. See that? And we removed the catch statement. We actually moved it down, you see? And I put the try statement that was down here, I move it up. I can see it in the code because this try was not there before. See, so I can compare the two and so on and so forth. But I guess you get the idea on that. We do have something called branches. And the branches are that you can have different commits at the same time in different spots that don't interfere with each other. For example, we keep what is called a main branch. This main branch means that whenever I stop in one of these versions, the code is working and it is running at that time. That's what it means. It is a release version. This is when I release something, all right?
Yep.
The development version could be in the middle of work. And if I need to go back to one of these versions, I can go back at any time. So I guess this is the point that I was trying to make before. I guess this is exactly what you need. This is basically what you wanted. So let's go for it. This was just the introduction. Let's go for creating this thing. Of course, it's not going to be as complicated as this one. Let's go for something small, right? Do you have any questions before I start over?
No,
All right.
because I used to use the tool a lot like this, but it was in Unix.
Perfect. Yeah. So this is great. It's the same tool. It's just 20, 40 years later, and now it's point and click. It's basically the same thing. All right.
Yeah.
There we go. So we start with a folder. So let's start with, let me go ahead and do this. Let's say I'll go with one of the projects. I'm going to grab live specialties, right? And I'm going to grab the latest version that you have, this one here. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put it anywhere I want. So I got a copy of that. And I can convert this into a repository. How do I do that? I just open with VS Code, right? So I just open it with VS Code. And on the left side, I have the initialize repository because there is no repository. We initialize it, and it by itself automatically creates what is called a main branch. This is the branch that I call the one that is supposedly always working. And we know that it's working, right? So we're gonna right away commit all my changes. That's it. So you see that it tells you there's a lot of untracked files. Those are files that it has never seen before. So we want to track all those files. But out of all of those files, there's a few of them that I don't care about. All right. That's where this
Actually, a lot of
file,
them.
yeah, there's a lot of them, like the archive, the logs. I don't care about the logs. I don't care about the testing either, or reports. So
Correct.
this file right here, the .gitignore, you can create it like that. All right. It doesn't have a name. It's just the extension is .gitignore, right? That's it. And in there, you can put folders that you can see that they grayed out, they get grayed out when you add them there. So let's add the logs folder. Let's add the reports folder. Let's add the test folder. And when you save it, it will go ahead and gray those out and they will not be tracked. That's it. I don't care about the
In this
diagnostics.
particular one, add clients,
All right, let's add clients, right?
because
So I just did that.
that's a detailed report folder.
Yeah. How about CLA list files? What is that? That's empty.
Um, that I that's a HTML version. When you go into the diagnostics file under list,
All right,
under the live program, you
no
can
worries.
export your client list.
Yes. All right. So down here, you see that there's this ini file, right?
Yeah,
I don't want that in my repository. I can also
you
say
don't?
that.
Oh,
No, I
okay.
don't want that. No, no, no. Settings like that, they're not part of the repository. They belong to the normal, to the computer. Don't misunderstand this. They will not get deleted. They will stay there. It's just that we're not going to keep track of the changes. You see what I mean? So I don't want to
Okay.
keep track of changes every time you change this from 3 to 6 to 63. That's not useful. Most of the times you don't want to track those. For now, I do want to keep track of the languages INI, right? So
Yeah.
I want to ignore all the INI files except for languages.ini. That one I do want to keep track of. Now notice how it got green again. You see that? So the
Yeah.
not in here is the opposite. So don't ignore it, right? So you can ignore all the ini files except for that one. That's it. So now that I have that, we just go back to our source control. And we usually start with the initial commit. That's how we call it. We commit that. And that's it. You start it. That's it. Now, if you look at the Git graph, you will see that we have one commit called initial commit. That's it. From there, before I even do anything else, I just go ahead and create what is called a new branch. And we're going to call it development. And everything I do, I'm going to do it in development. And when I'm happy with development, that's when I'm going to merge to main. Well, that with the merging, we're going to talk about it later. Don't worry too much about it. So right now, what we have is we have a development branch. We are in the correct branch. Now I can just work. I just make changes. Okay, so today duration was not that, it was 10. And I don't care. The other thing is you would say, hey, don't change those values. Don't worry, because I have the initial values already saved. I can go back to them whenever I want. So I don't feel bad like, oh my God, I destroyed something. No, you don't. You always have all your changes. And look, I don't care what I'm changing right now, because you will see in a second, I don't care about it because I save. But as you can see, the file name kind of like changed colors and it has an M in there saying it has been modified. And actually, if you click on it, the blue lines tell you which lines were modified and which ones are the same as the original. That's it. So I keep working and I say, you know what, now I don't care about that. I just had to go to life specialties, and I just changed the version to number 3 here. And I actually removed this part. It doesn't really matter for now. And I don't care. This was not true. Okay, good. Finish working. When I go to my source control, I will see every single one of the changes, and I can either revert some and put them back how they were before, if it was just a temporary change, or if I want to commit it, I will go back to my next steps, which is what I'm going to talk about. So basically, you saved your file is saved, but you never lost your data, and you are not bound to the changes you made. You can discard them, revert them right away. That's it. I don't want that one. I don't care. See? So I just got my data back. And now here, what we do is that when you're ready, you can stage the changes, if either all of them at once, if the changes that you made was only related to one thing, or one by one, and you make different messages for them. So I can just stage this one, and I could say fix durations were too short, and then the other one, life specialties, I fixed life specialties, or whatever I did there. What was it? I removed else statement. I do it. And now when I look at my graph, you will see my 3 commits. I have the initial one. I have the fix that I did for that one file and the other fix. You see how the story, kind of like the history, is moving forward. And the more you do this, the better it goes. That's it. That's all there is to Git. I think it is a very simple start off tutorial. Later on, once we're ready, and you say, you know what, I developed, I'm gonna create a new version now, like I'm gonna release that part. That's where you merge stuff. You can go to main, you go to the main branch, and look at this. Look how easy it is to switch from one to the other. Now I'm on my main branch. I can see the file as it was at that time. I will see the date, the changes that I had in there. And now I want to go to the development branch. Now the file has been changed for you. Now when you look at your file, it's going to have the changes that I did at that time. It's very easy to switch from one to the other at any time. Actually, let me go ahead and change in development the version number so you can see what I mean. So here, updated, so sure, updated version number. That's it. Now, I don't have several files. I only have one. This is the life specialties. If I go to my graph and I go back to the initial commit here, I double click on main, my file gets modified, and now it says 0.2 right there. It just gets modified. That's the only thing it does. And when I go back to development, now I have 6.3. Pretty easy. So you can go back and forth between your commits, and when you're in main, you can just right click on this and merge when you're ready. See, so that's what you're gonna do later. For now, what I want you to do is that you will go ahead and pick one of the projects that you might want to start with, and I'm gonna guide you through the steps to do the first commit. That's it, because that's the only thing that you're gonna be doing is just work a little bit, save your file, and at the end of the day, create your commits, and we continue. That will allow us to work at the same time with you on the latest version. Never asking what is the version that you're working on, you know, because we're gonna have the same data as you are. All right. So
Well,
whenever
yeah,
you're ready, yeah, go ahead.
real quickly, Isaias, this is where you've released a certain version out to the world to your clients, and then they report a bug. Oh, I just need to switch over to that version real quick and see. It's so easy to switch between your versions to mimic what they're experiencing without changing files all around, right? Like that's
Right.
like that's crazy. So easy.
Don't worry. Yeah. So at this point, whenever you're ready, just go ahead and share your screen.
Okay. Oops, let me shrink this one down. Okay, there we go.
All right. So let's pick a project. It doesn't have to be the live project, doesn't have to be anything. It would just be something that you work on from time to time.
Well, oh, well, okay, we'll just pick up. Well, this is actually not working. It's still under debug. I guess we could start with that.
Okay, so then just copy that. Don't use that one. Let's copy it so that we don't mess with whatever you're doing. Create a new
Okay.
folder. Yeah. And let's go in there. Yeah. So let's go get, paste it. And actually change the name of the folder to be the name of the project instead of the version. Right? So
There
just
we are.
right click on that and open it with VS Code.
Okay.
Yeah, just click the last one at the bottom. The last one.
Show more
Yep.
options. I was looking for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then I can
Do
open
you have VS
with,
Code? Oh, it seems to be that you don't
yeah,
have
I've got
VS Code
VS
in
Code
there.
in here.
Yeah, but you don't have the open with VS Code. When you installed it, you didn't add that option. Seems like.
But there,
Yeah, just go ahead and open VS Code and then open the folder
yeah,
by itself. Yeah. I would copy the path. Yeah,
yeah, there we go.
sure.
Oops.
There you go. So from here, what we're gonna do before you start, let's look at the extensions on the left. So you see the icon with the 4 little boxes?
This
That
one?
one? Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Let's look for Git graph.
Git graph?
Yeah, search for it on the top there.
Oh.
Yep. Git graph. Maybe with a space, I think. Let's see. Yeah, there it is,
Yeah.
the first one. The first one that has 10.9 million downloads. Small number. So you can click where
Well,
it says install on the right.
it's slightly bigger than 7K.
Yeah. You can install that one.
Revamped has 398 users.
Yeah. You
Mahuchi?
can Muchi.
Why
Mhachi, come on.
trust the
Mhachi.
Mahachi?
Yeah, we can trust the publisher and install. Right? And then we can I think you do have, yeah. Click on the left now on the source control icon, just kind of like the little Y thing. Go up a little bit. Yeah, that one. Yeah. And click on that. And now we're gonna initialize the repository. So that's where we're gonna start off. And that's it, you started. That's basically it. Okay, so let's make sure you can minimize this graph part. So this right here is kind of like it's the same as this thing, but not as good. Basically, the Git graph started first. They tried to integrate it into VS Code, and it's not as good anyways. So yeah, good. Now, what we're gonna do here is we already saw that we have 150 untracked files, but probably you don't want all of them. So let's go ahead and go to the files here. And let's see, oh, there it is, the gitignore file, right? And let's go ahead and ignore either the folders or files that you don't care about. And that's up to you. You just type in there the name. If it is a folder, you ended up with a slash. And that's
Okay,
totally up to
now,
you. You just decide what you want to ignore or what you
yeah,
want to keep.
I'm thinking I don't have an archive file, or was that they just fill that in automatically?
Yeah, very likely.
Uh,
You have to
the other slash.
wait. Exactly. Well, you have to spell it correctly, though.
Now there is that DIAGNOS.
There you go.
What happens when I've got a dog under my chair and my keyboard's in the wrong spot? Actually, it didn't seem to complain, so that's another possible area of
Yeah.
oops.
By the way, this is not case sensitive, so you can do
Huh.
it, right?
Diagnostics, lists, logs, and reports. Okay, I want all of the logs. I do not want any BAKs. Is it asterisk space BAK or dot BAK?
Asterisk dot BAK. It's just like the normal.
Okay, yeah,
The only thing that is weird in here is the exclamation point to do the not, right? But everything else is like a normal path spec or something like that. Yeah.
yeah. Don't even know what that's doing in there.
Look at that. TMP. You have TMP files in there? I didn't know that.
Do I have
Ignore
TMP?
those. Yeah, you have one
Mm,
right here. I don't know what that is. That's a Word document, I think.
Oh, that's automatically generated by the operating
Word or
system.
Excel, I think.
Word or Excel both do those,
Yeah. Yeah, you just put
which,
asterisk.tmp, you just ignore those two.
yeah. They
And
always
so
begin with a tilde.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
There are txt files. I don't know if you want to keep track of the PDF files as well. And basically the ini files, everything that says testing and stuff like that is what I would ignore. But this is the cool thing. You decide what you want. What do you think you need to keep track of? And if you do want to keep track of the ini files, that's totally fine.
Yeah. Well, a couple of them, uh, they change every time I run because they're scratch pads. I
Yeah.
need them at the end to know what happened at the beginning.
Yeah.
But after it's run, I don't care.
Yeah.
But like you said, I do want languages that I not.
Right. So
So
then
I
that's when
start
you will put
with a
the,
not.
yeah,
Is there a space or the entire name after that?
then the entire name just right next to it. No spaces. There you
Okay.
go.
And by and large, the text files,
Yeah, you can.
I can
Except that
ignore
there,
those.
the cool thing, if you ignore a file and later on you want it, you can include them later. So that's easy. The
Yeah.
problem is when you track a file and then you want to remove it, that's a little bit trickier. That's it. The only thing I tend to ignore more than what I like to include, because at least including them later is easy. That's not a problem. The
Ah,
PDFs, what do you say about PDFs and docs? Yeah.
they'll be relatively static, but then they get updated every once in a while.
Okay.
Um, so you can track them, you just don't expect to see many changes. See this
I
little
do.
docx guy?
Yeah, I
I'm
track
betting
the ones
he's
that I
the
want to
reason
change.
for the temp file.
Okay, so that one is open. I see.
And plus, I don't have any docx files that are part of the source code,
Right.
especially when it says test in front of it.
Yeah, okay. I would just put the word test and an asterisk and be done with it. Anything that starts with test. And you can put an asterisk at the beginning and an asterisk at the end as well. So that it's asterisk test asterisk. Anywhere I get the word test, I would just ignore that file.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So you can save that file, just Control S. When you do that, then you will see a bunch of files get grayed out. And that's where you confirm whether you're doing it right or not. If the file that you want to track is grayed out, then you have to make sure that your ignore file is set correctly. Like, for example, there's a link in there, a shortcut link. I would ignore those, I guess, right?
I don't expect them to change.
Okay, then don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That's it. So let's go ahead and whenever you tell me if you're ready.
It looks ready right now.
Okay. Can you
Now, does
scroll up?
it
Let's see
say
if
how
there's
many
anything.
files I'm actually tracking?
Yeah, it says 37 files. Here on the left side, you can see how many files.
Right-handed, left-handed. Ah, there. Okay.
Yes. So right now it says there's 37 new things. I usually don't keep track of the .vs code. That's again something that is a personal preference. So those preference folders are something that depend on your computer. That folder only works on your computer. If I copy the project and I get a
Huh.
copy of that file, it will not make any difference. It's not going to help me on anything. So I would ignore that file as well. Well, folder in this case. So you can put a slash.
It's a
at the end.
folder?
Yeah, it is.
Huh.
Yeah, if you click on it, you will see that there's another
Oh,
file in there.
there's the chevron next to it. Sideways
Yeah.
chevron. I call it a
Yeah.
greater than sign.
Yeah, exactly.
Less
right.
than greater. Yeah.
So let's hit save on that. We're good. So let's go now to our source control.
Here.
Let's create a message here. Usually the first initial commit, we name it exactly that, initial commit. And
Okay.
now before you do that, before you do anything, the enter key doesn't work in there. That is just going to be a message. No, I will
Yeah.
control enter actually commits, but you have to stage your changes first. So you have a bunch of changes. You have to pick which changes will go to that commit. So in this case, we want them all. So if you hover over the number there, which is the number 35,
Here?
well, in here on this side, if you
That
hover
one.
over that, there is a plus sign that applies to all of the files at the same time. But you can include them individually if you want. In this case, if it is the initial commit, let's get them all. It's easier. And now notice that it says staged. So this means that this message will apply to those files that you selected only. So if you select a few files for a given commit message, it only applies to the stage once. So right now, when you're ready, you can hit the commit button and you have done it. That's it. Now, let me see, what is this? Oh, you haven't. So let me configure that real quick. So click on cancel here. And let me have control for a second so that I can type it a little bit quicker. So what we're going to do is that we're going to open up the terminal. And that's the cool thing in VS Code. You can always open the terminal at any time, and you can do whatever you want as you would do in a normal terminal. I think this is a PowerShell. You can tell here that it's a PowerShell.
Yeah.
There are other, like the Git bash, which that's the one that I use.
Bash is what I used to use most of the time in Unix.
Yeah, I would make that one my default. That's what you do. I don't remember how I do that. There's a way that you can configure the terminal settings and just tell it, you know what, I want the default one. Where is it? Something like that. There's a default one that allows you to set the bash terminal to the default. That's all.
Oh, you've only got 117 choices. You ought to be able to figure that out, right?
Yeah. So I would say terminal, and I would search for default. That's the other thing. You always search, and yeah, you should be able
Default
to find what you're
location,
looking for.
default terminal program.
Terminal integrate default profile. We're gonna do here the git bash. That's it.
Found it.
So that means whenever
Okay.
you open a terminal, it should start with git bash. And in here, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to configure Git. So Git is primarily a terminal program. All the things that we're doing right now, you can do them all from the terminal. And for example, this configuration that I'm doing, for now, it can only be done on the terminal. We cannot do it with the point and clicky thingy. So for now, I would say Git. So it would be Git. Nope. I want to config here. Global configuration. User.name. So what would you use as your username here?
Well, probably just something like Russell. I don't know.
Yeah, you want to use the normal one that you use, like RPops and so.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Give me just a second here.
RPOPP.
All right. And then we do the same, but for the email. So user.email. Can you type your email there? That's the only configuration that you have to do for Git. There are a lot of other things that we can configure, but I think for now that's enough. So now when we go ahead and try to commit again, go ahead and click on commit. It should be good to go.
Yeah, I think Russell's late for being somewhere.
Yeah, so we're gonna leave it at that, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so now that you finished up with that, the only thing that is left to do is just work. You just go ahead and make changes later on. When you make this, so if you want, you can continue working wherever you were working. And when you finish, you can copy paste your changes in here. And when you paste the changes, it will automatically tell you what things changed. And when you commit that, then you will have your history of that too. So, but I guess it will be easier for you just to come to this file, work in here, save, and it will automatically pop in there that you made a change. So as soon as you save a file with anything, I just did a space in there. Look at that. It was just a space. It will right away go ahead and show you that you have some changes, and you will do the same as you just did before. Add the changes, you know, stage your changes, put a message in there, and commit. Saving with extra steps. That's all it is. So what we're gonna do is tomorrow, at what time are you gonna be working?
Okay, tomorrow's Wednesday.
Yep.
I'll be starting sometime around 8, and I don't have anything Wednesday night, so I'll keep on going until I'm tired of it.
That's
I
okay.
do
So when
try
you're
to take
tired of
off
it,
between, I try to get off between 11:15 and 12:30.